Hey everybody, welcome back. We are diving into more of your questions today. So if you have questions regarding rent to own, lease options, subject to wraparound mortgages, things that make your head spin because you're just dying to learn more and how to properly implement these strategies, this episode is for you.
Oh, it's going to be the Ask Joe and Jen show?
Yeah.
Or is it the Jen and Joe show? Either way, it's action packed. Let's go.
It's time. I'm telling you, we've got pages. So if you've got questions as you're watching this, drop them below or feel free to head over to our Facebook group. We've got Creative Finance Playbook with Jen and Joe. We'd love to see you over there. We're sharing deals, hot topics, and always room for questions. So,
and you know what? Well, you said that though. Drop your question below and I'll answer it. Okay. I will answer your question by dropping it below.
All right. Hold you to it. All right, so some of these are a little bit more in depth, and some of these are just for brand new people who are looking to get started. So one question that popped up here is, how do you fund a sub 2? So sub 2 is short for subject to, which really we buy on wrap mortgages, which is going to be another question. But how do you fund these deals?
Well, I start by funding it with little as possible, by buying with as little as possible. So for me, I'm buying this deal. Chances are I typically buy with no money down. That's the exact question. It's a question, but I'm really telling the seller, because I do finish it in okay, but it's like I typically buy with no money down, okay? So in order to fund as little as possible, I buy with as little as possible. So a lot of my deals I do buy with $100 down. Now maybe I have to do a little work to the property. Sometimes my seller might be behind on payments, right? I have to pay closing costs. Then once I own the property, I got to put an insurance policy on it. Then I might have to do some painting or whatever. So no money down doesn't mean not a dollar.
Mm-hmm.
That just means not a big down payment, like 10 or 20% down. And you don't have to. That's why I love creative finance. But how do I fund those deals? There's many different ways. For me, I fund them ourselves. That's why I love having a W-2 job, but maybe I just don't have access to thousands of dollars, and that's fine. Find somebody who does. This is where in our group, one of the guys in there says in under 60 days, by just sharing with a few friends and people, he's got people who are willing to lend him a substantial amount of capital for his real estate deals. And you know why? Because he talks about what he does.
So he's raising private capital.
Raising private capital.
Friends, family, people that have money that they don't necessarily want to learn how to invest in real estate, but they want their money to work for them.
Yeah. If somebody could give you a bunch of money and then you could give them back a whole bunch of money more. So what does that mean? And this is the strategy that I would do. Maybe I buy a deal with no money down, and I needed $5,000 in closing costs, and I need a $2,000 insurance policy, and I need to stack away 3 months of rent or 3 months of payments before I can find my renter, right? And then I need $10,000 to buy that deal. Maybe I got to paint a bedroom or something, right? But I need $11,000. Well, this is why I love rent to own, because if I had to borrow $11,000 from somebody to make that deal work, I bought it, I've closed on it, I'm secure, I own it, and I'm marketing it on Zillow, all the places rent to own. I'm looking for a renter who's going to give me a large non-refundable option deposit. And many times it's 10, 15, 20, $30,000 down or more. So in many of these situations, the check that we needed to write total to buy the property, we actually got a bigger check short time later, and that could be a month. It could be the next day we did the one. It could be 3-4 months. It could be longer sometimes to find the right one. But once I find that right one, sometimes it's even more than we had to, we got paid to buy the deal.
Yeah. So there's lots of different ways to do it, for sure.
So if you did have to borrow money, it doesn't have to be like super long term. You could do even something shorter term, 6 months or less.
Yeah. And then like you said, so save some money. If you got a W-2, start stacking away your real estate fund. And then when the deal comes, you've got money to deploy.
Yeah, but you don't need, $30,000, $50,000 down to buy real estate at all.
Awesome. All right. So this one is getting into the wrap. I feel like it confuses people so much because we are very big on the distinction between subject to and a wrap mortgage. So someone's right. And I'm laughing because this was me for the longest time. I'm still lost on what exactly is a wrap. I know in the podcast and the videos, you've stated that it's literally what it sounds like. You wrap one mortgage around another. However, it's still not clicking. I don't get how it's applied or what situation it's used for. And they have the little emoji.
Yeah. So
you're not alone.
You're not alone. So what happens is sometimes we'll hear where a seller has a house, they want to sell it, and they're open to doing owner financing, but they have a mortgage in place already. So what we do, and I kind of always imagine it like a circle, right? So maybe they have a $200,000 balance with Wells Fargo. And what I can do is I can write a new note, which is just paperwork that I don't do. An attorney will do it or the title company does it, but usually I like to use attorneys. And they're going to write a new note, which is the paperwork. It's a promissory note. That's going to outline the deal that I'm paying. So for an example, if I'm buying that house for $200,000, that's what the seller owes, my new note will show that I'm going to be buying it for $200,000. It's also going to show the terms that we have agreed on, which would be the payment I'm paying, term length. All of these things are in writing, and that's what it is. It's just outlining our deal. But inside of a wrap, which I love this, is because it's showing that we're making the payments, my trust is, but it's also showing that if we don't pay, the seller can foreclose and take the property back. So that's why I prefer doing wraps. I learned how to do this in New York State, where we need an attorney to represent the buyer and the seller. And to have two attorneys agree about doing a deal like this, where I'm buying somebody's house, but the mortgage stays in their name, you really have to get all the T's crossed and I's dotted. And so the reason why that they're okay with that is because of a wrap, and that there's an instrument inside of that paperwork saying that if I don't pay, they can foreclose and get the property back. That's what makes them most likely feel comfortable. Although when we first tried doing it in New York with subject to, there's no note created. They're just deeding you the property. If the buyer doesn't pay on it, there's no way of them getting that property back because there's no way of showing that there's any instrument they could get the property back. So that's what caused a lot of confusion. So they're very similar to, they're just a new note created. And to be honest with you, it's more expensive to buy it with a wrap because of the paperwork, and they record it and all of these things. So it does cost us more money, but it's also better for the seller's protection. And I like that. And the attorneys like that more too. On the second part of that too is some of these sellers are going to get a mortgage later on. And if they go to get a mortgage later on, that note, the wrap, the paperwork that shows I'm making the payment is what we need to send to the new mortgage people so they could show my incoming payment washing out what their debt is, so their debt to income ratio doesn't show the old mortgage. It'll show it on their credit report still, but it's also going to show my payment is the one paying that. So that's going to help with them needing a mortgage later on. It's not going to make the difference of if their credit situation, but if all is good and they just need to show that it's being paid, that's what that wrap does.
Yeah. So long story short, it's just a couple more pieces of paper drawn up by your attorney that's stating that your promissory note to pay.
Yeah. So I'm not applying for a new loan. There's no money involved besides me just paying the attorney to drop the paperwork. I'm not getting my credit check to do any of that. It's super easy peasy, especially because that's why you hire a good attorney, because that's what they specialize in. So hire a real estate attorney who knows how to do wraps, and especially with land trust as the owner, because I'm not buying these in Joe's name. I'm not putting these in Jenn's name or an LLC name. These are all deeded to a land trust, and that's a whole other thing.
This is an interesting one. I don't know. I think maybe we were talking about this one offline one day, so I'd love to share your thoughts. Truly curious, as a couple who's been in the real estate game for a bit, what's your take on the infinite banking, private banking strategy?
All right, I'm out of here.
Of using permanent life insurance as a vehicle to store capital, allowing you to create another generational asset alongside your investing? I will answer for myself. I don't know enough about it. I feel like it's a little bit of a shiny object thing for me. I'm really focused on buying rentals without banks and turning them into lease options and coaching others on how to do that. So I don't have any thoughts on the matter.
So I do, but they're not going to be helpful for this situation. So I've been explaining infinite banking before. So I've got the concept of how it works. I do see many drawbacks of it. So if I'm new to something, what do? I talk to very extremely successful wealthy people who really, some of them have deep dove into what this is in the inner workings. This is why I love being part of the family mastermind, because you're around 400 of like some super amazing people. And when you talk to some of the like most successful, sharpest people in the room, and they're like, don't do that. Maybe I don't need to do too deep of an investigation. Maybe it's great. I don't know, but that's my answer. I've been told by super smart people, don't do it.
Don't do it.
And there's better things to do.
Oh, there's our answer. Short and sweet.
But also, too, if I don't know as deep into the topics of the working, I don't have the best answer. But when super smart people that I highly respect say, hey, don't do it because of all of these reasons, then
Yeah, because again, I go back to like we have such little amount of time that what can I focus my energy on that we do know really well, and how do we
Yeah.
just do more of that?
Yep.
Because that's how you become wealthy and successful. And
Well, as being a visionary that I am, it's so easy for me to be distracted by the
I
shiny new
know.
thing. So to actually be laser focused is a challenge for visionaries. And we have this problem. So when things like this come across, and it could be crypto, it could be like, I mean, all these
Hmm.
things, right?
Building apps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's saying laser focused. And rule number 3, don't stop doing what
What
works.
works? Yep.
So
Awesome. Okay, back to real estate. Do you guys pay your sellers every month from your own business, or do you use some sort of third party servicing company? So, if it is a seller finance deal, then we directly pay the seller. The house has been paid off, there's no bank involved. We'll set up the payments directly, our bank to the seller's bank. If it is with a mortgage company, you can either pay it from your bank to the account in the bank of the mortgage statement payment, or you can log into the mortgage portal and set up your payments that way. I would never set up payment from my bank to the seller in hopes the seller is going to make that mortgage payment. I think that's really important. I've never used a servicing company, and Joe, you can.
I mean, there's no need for them.
It's more money.
It costly. You have another person involved in the transaction. And you know what I like to do? Have it set up that our bank is making the payment every month. So now it's full control.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's going from our account directly to theirs. I know it's being wired or however it's done electronically. So I don't have to worry about it getting lost in the mail. It's easy peasy. I keep an eye on, not me, but you guys and your side of it, keep an eye on every single month that the payment is exactly what we're sending, because I don't want to send too little just in case there's like a change in the payment, escrow, something like that. So we verify the payment's correct. We send out the correct payment. We send it out early. We do it electronically. We don't pay a third-party servicer to do it. I know people say when you buy it with subject to that you need to do that so somebody else is making the payment, but I buy in a wrap anyways, so I don't need to prove that somebody else is making the payment. And actually, when our sellers, what do they need when they go get a mortgage later on? They need to show that the 12 payments are coming out of our account, and we show them the property, we show them the note. And then that's what helps them get qualified for their next house. So there's no need to pay another company because it costs money to do that. I've heard it's $100.
I've heard some horror stories too.
And then also I've heard them not making the payments for XYZ reasons, and I just don't want any of that.
We're a little bit type A around here. We want just full control. But we do have our executive assistant has definitely helped out with that. So definitely just have some extra eyes on that. It's important in your in-house. So this one, somebody's saying that it seems as though everyone says you can buy a property with no money down with creative financing, but then the videos seem to always say closing costs and cash to seller. So do you have to get a private money lender for that, or if you have no money to put down, or is there another way?
Okay. So there's two things there. And I talk about it all the time too.
Yep.
So I could say I bought a house with no money down. I could say I bought a house with $100 down. And that's all true. What a down means is down payment, down to the seller, down to the bank, down to whatever. If I'm buying a house and I have to put 20% down, what I put down? 20%. But it's not just that. It's also all the closing costs and fees that go along with it. So you're going to have an insurance policy. You're going to have a payment coming up in the next 30 days, usually, sometimes a little bit more or less, depending on the situation. I don't know if you need to have any repairs. You got to switch utilities. Maybe they left you a water bill that's stuck in, there's things, right? So you will need some capital to definitely close the deal. So the misconception is no money down means no money at all. That's not true. No money down means no money down to the seller to buy the deal. Great. But I do have all these other fees. So what does that mean? Depends on how much you're spending. Depends on where you're buying. I can close a deal in upstate New York, still find properties out there a little bit more for $150,000. And to close a $150,000 property in upstate New York, might need $5,000 in closing costs, I would say. For all the attorney fees, all of this stuff, just doing like one of our wraps or something like that. So if I'm buying with no money down, but I have to come up with the $5,000 plus a $1,500 insurance policy, now I need $6,500. Right.
And then make sure you have a couple months worth of rent or
of your
mortgage
payment.
Yep.
You want to have some payments socked aside. So I always like to start with 3. So say my payment to the seller or to their mortgage is $1,000. Now my $6,500 means I need $9,500. Do I need to do anything to the house? while the house is vacant, am I going to have utility bill to pay? Probably, right? So I might even need more than that. Say hypothetically, no money down means 10 grand on that deal.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good question, because if you're first starting out and you literally have no money, then getting into these deals, you will have to find a private money lender or some sort of way to like fund the deals for a little bit. And it can be a little confusing because you're still trying to learn all the terminology of what does down even mean to some people or to all of us.
So, I mean, and I'm going to give you bad advice, but I'm going to give it what I did. When we bought, but it's true. Like,
Plug your ear.
Here you go. When we bought our very first house, you and I together back in 2008.
Our first investment property.
You already owned your own house.
I owned my own house.
I had my own house.
Traditional.
This was a fixer-upper that we found. 08, the market's crashing. House, they had it listed for 40, or it was more, but we ended up getting it for $47,000. Birchwood. I love that house. One of the most special houses we've ever had. But for $47,000, I had the money to renovate it, but I didn't know hard money lenders back then. I didn't know any hard money lenders back then. So you know what I did was I called the bank and I said, hey, I want to take out a personal loan. I've got good credit and I've got a good job. So I did qualify, but I got a personal loan and I ended up getting like 3 of them on the same day. Now, it's not illegal. It's probably frowned upon, but that's what I did. I called 3 different banks. I got approved at all 3 of them, went and picked up my money. I walked out with $47,000.
And then if you rewind even further, the very first deal you ever did, it was nothing out of your pocket.
Yep.
And so there's also the way of like wholesaling your first deal, cash deal or whatnot, to be able to just bring some money in, because I think it is very, very important to know that you have to be responsible with your finances. You have to know how to manage money. When you start taking over other people's mortgages, you have to be super responsible and know that even if you have no rent coming in, that mortgage payment has got to be made.
Yep.
So definitely make sure that you're ready for all of that. Gosh, there's so many good ones here.
But if you need to get that $10,000, maybe you borrowed it. It could be from family. It could be from friends. Maybe you went to the bank and borrowed some money. So you had that money. Whatever you're doing, you got to get your hands on that capital.
Yeah.
But then number 2, this is once again why I love rent to own, is because when I get that non-refundable option deposit, that chunk of money I get, I'm paying that right back, right? I might keep a little bit for reserves, but sometimes I have extra, right? Which is always great. But this is how you truly could get into real estate with not a ton out of pocket and how to get that money back quick. So this is why it also has the cash flow. I want to get paid $500 a month, if not more, per door. Because now if I have a little bit of money that I had to borrow, my $500 every month is going to go towards that. I'm not out buying the new car yet. I'm not out doing any of that stuff yet. I'm paying back all my debts. I'm going to start at my nest egg, and now I'm looking for my next deal.
Boom.
Bam.
So let's talk about marketing. Marketing tactics that we use, that anyone can use, and what would be an acceptable or adequate monthly marketing budget? Thank you. Well, marketing is one of our favorite topics, and I think that if you want to buy real estate, you don't have to have a marketing budget. I said it, and I know people will squawk and they'll say, that's not true, Jen. You need to have all this money and you spend $6,000 to get a little, and you can, and you could if you're really scaling. But in the very beginning or at any stage in the game, there's an abundance of free off-market properties and on-market properties for free.
Yeah. I would say start with Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Like it's our favorite thing. We always talk about it, but like join Facebook groups and you could target any city, any state, any area around the country really easy by going to the search bar, typing in that city that you want to buy in, that you want to invest in, that you're looking to do deals in, that city, the surrounding little towns around it. And all of those areas, they're all going to have groups. So when you put the name in the task or the search bar, hit groups. They all come down. Once you start doing that, I'm going to join all the big ones, all of them, but the ones that have got a lot of people in them. I'm going to make some posts. Does anyone have a house for sale that's not market ready? I'm looking to buy one in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then I'm going to make it like blue or pink before I put it into the group. By just in the bottom, you can change the background color. I'm posting like 2 or 3 of those every single day, if not 4 or 5 a day. You don't really want to do more of that because Facebook might think you're spamming.
Yeah, I would definitely limit that. But literally, like we're talking, pick your phone up while your coffee is brewing and post exactly what he just said.
I can do it right now.
I dare you.
It'd be done.
4 to 5 groups a day. And then also take an extra 30 seconds and post on your personal page that, hey, everybody, I'm looking to buy another property in this area if you have a certain area that you're looking for, or leave it wide open if you're a little bit more flexible there. But if you tell the world what you do, it is for free. You could literally use your phone as your marketing campaign and cost $0. Now, if you are really trying to up your game and you want to do X amount of deals per month, then now you're talking some, major numbers. And you were crunching some numbers the other day when it comes to running sponsored ads on Facebook. You're going to have to spend like quite a bit of money. You're going to have to spend money on PPC. That's very expensive. You can spend money on mailers. That's going to add up really quickly. And everything works. But when it comes down to it, if you're still learning how to talk to sellers, what the paperwork's going to involve, and you've got all of this stress and worry and this newness going on, this is the method that we would definitely say it's the digital driving for dollars, right? You're literally with your fingers typing in.
Does anyone have a house for sale that's not market ready? I'm looking to buy one in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and I made it red. Now I could tap the color, make it purple. I could make it all the different colors, but red, purple, blue, green, they all stand out. Now I hit post. I have a free post now in this group, local group to where I would love to do deals. And now it's popped up right there. Now people will start messaging me or they'll leave a comment. And now I'm getting leads for free because when we looked at doing direct mail, and we've done that before, when you look at doing a point per click, that means I'm running Google ads. So when somebody says, sell my house fast, you're paying for that, for them to do that. You could spend 4,000 or 5,000 a month consistently every single month to generate leads. And then we look at direct mail. Your average direct mail, the piece of mail that goes out, including the pulling the list, the printing, the stamp to get it mailed to their house, you're usually about $1.10 to $1.40 per letter. There's some that could do like postcards, and it's usually around that dollar range per letter. So the example that is the statistics nationwide, you do $1, let's just round it out. You spend $2,000. Out of that, you're going to get about a 1.5% response rate. And out of that, 1/3 of those are an actual lead. The other 2/3 are they want to know how'd you get their information? Why are you sending them this letter? And you get some people to call. You have to have an answering service to call them. So to spend thousands of dollars to get 10 leads, guys, I might get 10 leads in this post.
Yeah.
And it took me while I was doing this live, found the group, posted it, submitted it, right? And probably in another minute or two, I'll have some comments.
Yeah.
So it's an active group.
You just, oh gosh, you doing locally?
Yes.
Oh.
There'll be a lot of, but we get a lot of people who are like, I have a house I need to sell. I'm frustrated. It's not selling with my agent.
No, and I make a funny face because people are going to reach out. So, but even if it's a free way you're doing it on Facebook or you do spend money on mailers, there's going to be people that are frustrated or angry that you're reaching out or talking about buying a house. Just ignore them. They're not the people you're trying to help anyway, but there will be some people that are sincerely in need of our help. So egos aside, don't worry about the naysayers and focus on the folks that really have properties that need to be sold. And you could like literally be the person they're waiting for.
Yeah. And these people are going to reach out to me now. I don't have to call them. I'm not sending them any mail. They are the ones reaching out to me, raising their hand digitally. That's why we call it digital driving for dollars. And they're going to say, Joe, I have a house I want to sell. They'll send me pictures. They're going to tell me all the stuff. And now I could decide, do I want to have this conversation? Are they motivated with all these pictures and everything they're telling me? And this is how you're able to just do business from a phone. These little things right here, guys, are probably one of the most powerful things that will make you millions of dollars if you use them.
Used correctly.
When you use them correctly. So social media, it could distract you or it can make a lot of money, but Facebook has made us an extreme amount of money.
Absolutely. So thanks so much for tuning in today. If you've got more questions, like Joe said, drop them below. He's going to answer them for you. And of course, come on over to Facebook. Our community is amazing. Creative Finance Playbook with Jenn and Joe. Until next time, we'll see you later.
See ya.